Hi everybody, I hope you're having a great day. In this video I'm going to be covering Revan. He made his first appearance in a video game named Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic in 2003. Now for a significant time he also went by the name Darth Revan, as well as being known as Revan the Butcher and the Prodigal Knight. He's a human male that was born in the Outer Rim territories, having brown hair and purple eyes. Now, Revan was well renowned for being the most powerful Jedi of his era, being known as the Jedi Order's greatest champion during the Mandalorian Wars. Throughout the course of his life, he displayed a wide range of powers, and he's unique in the fact that he's embraced the light side of the Force, as well as the dark side, having mastered both of them, which allows him to open up both sides of the Force simultaneously, summoning power that can only be described as unleashing the Force in its purest form. He displayed a mastery of telekinesis, being able to easily crush massive stones, create protective bubbles around himself and large structures, wield 2 additional lightsabers to the 2 he carried in his hands just using the Force, incapacitate dozens of combatants at the same time, call down meteors from space to use as weapons, absorb Force power from nearby Force-sensitive individuals, and he could even use the Force to heal his injuries much quicker. Revan could also use this form of healing factor to block out pain as well as drugs that are introduced to his system. And in addition to using the ubiquitous Force lightning of the dark side, he had unique dark side powers in that he could conceal his darkness from Jedi, drain knowledge from the minds of people around him, as well as flooding others' minds with something called a thought bomb, and he showed the very rare ability to teleport from one place to another. He was such a well-renowned strategist, tactician, and hand-to-hand fighter that the Ikani and Mandalorian cultures, despite them being beaten by him, revered him as the epitome of what a warrior and leader should be. And just to throw another little tidbit in there, his mind was known to display highly advanced precognition, as well as being a technical genius that created a sophisticated droid named HK-47. Honestly, he was at least of the caliber of someone like a Darth Vader of his time, his only true equal from the time period being the Sith Emperor Vitiate. Now, as a child, Revan was found by the Jedi Order, and he became a Padawan that had an insatiable hunger for knowledge, quickly growing to become the Jedi's most promising student. But as he grew into a Jedi Knight, he became a very vocal and charismatic critic of the Jedi Order's inactivity in the ongoing Mandalorian Wars. And despite the Jedi Council's stance on not being involved in the war, he and his friend Malak started the Revanchist Movement, and he led many to follow him as he became the Galactic Republic military's supreme commander. He and his army then gradually pushed back the Mandalorians, saving many worlds, but it was at the price of his morals, and embracing some practices of the dark side. It was on the planet Malachor 5 that Revan beat the Mandalorian leader known as Mandalore the Ultimate in one-on-one combat. He then called for the activation of the mass shadow generator superweapon, which destroyed both armies and the planet, but he won the war. He and his buddy Malak, that were now considered heroes, vanished into the unknown regions to look into a mysterious Sith influence that they felt was behind the war. And when they finally discovered a hidden Sith Empire, they had their minds corrupted by the powerful Sith Emperor Vitiate. Now, as Darth Revan and Darth Malak, they were directed to start the plans for a Sith invasion. But Revan's willpower was remarkable, and the 2 of them broke free from the Emperor's control, going on to create their own new Sith Empire and built up a fleet of warships. Revan's intentions were interesting though, because he actually wanted to unify the galaxy to destroy the Emperor and the hidden Sith threat. But to do so, he and his friends returned to the galaxy as conquerors and actually waged war against the Jedi and the Republic, sparking the Jedi Civil War. Revan's campaign was a success, conquering many worlds and others just willingly joining him. The only thing that stopped this progression was a last-ditch effort by a Jedi strike team led by Bastila Shan. They invaded Revan's ship. This prompted his so-called friend Malak to take advantage of him being distracted, and in a treacherous grab for power, he fired on Revan's flagship, looking to take out everyone at the same time. Luckily, Revan survived though, being kept alive by Bastila's use of the Force. When Revan was taken back to the Jedi Council for judgment, they actually used their powers to wipe his mind, and then recondition him as a light side Jedi. Now in his mission to help the Jedi, he picked up a few more friends, and actually fell in love with his rescuer, Bastila. But eventually he crossed paths with Darth Malak again, Malak revealing to him his forgotten identity as a former Dark Lord. Despite this, he ended up battling and defeating Malak for good, bringing an end to the new Sith Empire that he himself had created. This gave him the respect of being seen as a hero again, subsequently settling down and marrying Bastila, everything being cool until he one day started having visions about a mysterious threat from his past. This was strong enough to prompt him to leave his wife and unborn child to go look for answers. He would eventually rediscover Vitiate's Sith Empire and be captured by the Emperor. This time he was put in a form of stasis for 300 years, his mind and body constantly being drained by the Emperor, kind of like a battery. But unbeknownst to the Emperor, he was also telepathically influencing him in return, calming the Emperor's darkest impulses and stalling his invasion for many years. Revan would eventually be freed by Republic forces, and he took control of the Foundry space station to build an army of extermination droids. These were to be based off of the HK-47 droid, and were designed to hunt down beings with Dark Force DNA. But before this ingenious idea could come to pass, Revan was killed by an Imperial strike team. Now here's when things get interesting though. Because Revan had endured so much torture, his mind had split into two. His light half became one with the Force, but his dark half rejected death and stayed to destroy the Emperor. This led to a coalition of Imperial and Republic forces that joined together because they feared the Dark Revan would bring destruction to everyone. Funny enough, these coalition forces actually joined with Revan's light side spirit and beat the Dark Revan on Yavin 4. The two halves of Revan's being were then merged back together in perfect balance. Now, for his powers and abilities and his influence on the Star Wars universe, for my 1 to 10 rating, I'll give Revan a rating of 10, which is a legendary rating. I hope everyone enjoyed this video. I'll talk to you next time. Be sure to like and subscribe to The New Sage.